Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will learn from personal stories and explore thought-provoking topics, all with one goal in mind: living a more purposeful life. Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the On Purpose podcast, where it is our honor and privilege to serve you each and every week. This week, I want to talk to you about being in the fourth quarter of the year, right? We're getting ready to wrap up 2023. Holidays are coming around. It's easy to put off whatever we're supposed to be doing or told ourselves we were going to do until next year. It can kind of roll into our New Year's resolutions, our New Year goals. But I want to challenge that thinking. I want to challenge the urge to put off what we should be doing. So in this episode, I want to talk to us about executing to create results. And I want to start with a little information that I've used in my classes for years, and it's called Hick's Law. William Edmund Hick was a psychologist who studied the relationship between the times of having multiple stimulus and the reaction time. And basically, to summarize all of this, it's that Hick's Law states that the more options you have, the more decision-making points you have, the slower you are in making a choice, the slower you are to react. If I'm always evaluating what are my options, it takes that much longer to make a choice. And I think while we use this a lot in law enforcement classes, we use it a lot for athletes to try to minimize their thinking and the decision-making points, I think we can also use it in our life. And that is this, with all the information that's available to us in the world now and right at our fingertips, it's easy to get caught up in not executing, not acting, because we're always gathering. We're always looking for that one more tidbit of information. That one more piece of data that justifies the risk is going to be worth the reward. That one more course, the one more mentorship, the one more online leadership class. We're always needing that one more piece of information that's going to tip all the odds in our favor. Yet we all know, and we've been told over and over, the timing in life is never perfect. It's never that perfect time to have a kid. It's never that perfect time to get married. It'll never be that perfect time to go back to school. It'll never be that perfect time to throw the dice on the table, put all the chips in, and bet on yourself to live your life that you want, the dreams that you want. There's always going to be variables out there that you can't control, that cannot be researched enough, studied enough to make a human life an act of certainty. Just being alive has a certain amount of uncertainty that we have to accept each and every day. So we can't get paralyzed and always be in information gathering state that we never act. Right? And then you throw in our fears. The fear of unknown. If I do something new, what could happen? The fear of being judged by others if we don't succeed at first. Right? This creates a perfect breeding ground for us to always be not quite ready. There's just always one more thing I got to do. One more something that's going to, once that happens, then my dream can take place. Then I can start to act on whatever it is I'm trying to create in my life. But what are we missing out on? What is the cost of the delay of acting? When the truth is, the sooner we act, the sooner we can fail. The sooner we can fall down, the sooner we can learn if this is or is not for us. And if it is for us, the sooner then we can now tweak our plan because we have results, because we took action, because we created momentum. Now we have experience-based learning that's taking place so that we can adjust. We can adjust our plan. We can adjust our route. So who is it in your world that helps you be held accountable? Right? It's easy at times to pass off on our own dreams pass off our own ideas, move them back in the calendar to tomorrow, next week, next year. But who's that person that's going to help hold us accountable? Is it your friend, partner, spouse that's going to remind you that, hey, you've been researching this idea. You've been sitting on this dream for 5 years, yet we have not acted upon it. Look at your circle. Is there somebody in there? Are there people in the circle that help you, remind you of your best you, to help you move forward? I prefer, in my life, and I probably do it too quick to be perfectly honest with you, to fail sooner rather than later. One of the greatest things I've done in my life is to relinquish control of all the variables, if you will. To not have to have all the details of everything perfectly planned out and laid out before me and the what ifs. To just act and know that there's going to be things I'll never have anticipated. The perfect example for me is COVID. I had no idea a worldwide epidemic was possible when I created my business. It was in no business class I ever took. It was definitely not my business plans. Yet, here it is. We failed during that. We had ups and downs during it, but what did I learn? Right? And if I'd have waited, think about that, if you just spent your whole life with this business plan, but you couldn't act until there was a worldwide pandemic, you'd have been waiting a long time. So don't be so caught up and I want to control everything that I don't get the experience I need to succeed. Don't be so tight that I want the plan to look just like this, when the reality is you got to have the dream and let the plan kind of flow. You might meet somebody new in your journey that has great ideas, that opens up an alternative to your plan, a different route to your plan that you didn't even know was possible because it hadn't been your experience to that point. That's one of my favorite things about a lot of my new friendships is they think differently than I think. They grew up differently than I grew up. They had different careers than I've had. So when we look at an idea, a potential, a problem, they see it differently than I do, so I can learn from them. I can learn with them. So as you're dreaming, and we're setting up our third quarter to lead into the great new year, we're not coasting to the finish line. We're not just going to slide on into home plate and say, we'll get it next year. Let's start by acting a little bit now. Let's start by putting some plans in motion, some things in place. Move past the gathering of information, the needing more and more and more, and actually just take some steps. Let's go out there, take some steps, fall down, scuff up our knees, scrape our elbows a little bit. Then we can make adjustments. Now we have the information, we have the theoretical information, plus the actionable steps we've taken to see what worked, what didn't work, to make changes, so that we start living the lives we want, no matter what it is you're trying to change in your world. Let's get those steps going that way. Let's start moving and executing towards creating the results we want versus sitting on the sidelines learning about the results and all the variables that can affect it. Be sure to let us know what you think of these episodes. Message, Instagram, any of the social medias you're at. Let's get this going, but let's hold each other accountable. Let's be that friend for that friend that says, hey, you've been sitting on the sideline too long. It's time to get this plan going. And let's springboard this last quarter of 2023 into a great 2024. Have an awesome week, everybody. And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.